Hello everyone, my name is Edgar Gutierrez. This is my mini lesson for the pronunciation lesson plan. This is a mock-up class, it's not a real class. Therefore, for the portions of the lesson where students would speak, I have used an AI voice generator. So, here's my lesson plan. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Today's lesson will focus on pronunciation and will be based on a short story titled A Long Day at the Bakery. We will focus on the pronunciation of the letters GH at the end of certain words. We will learn how this GH is pronounced. So, the objectives for today's lesson are students will identify words where GH is pronounced as F or is silent. Second, students will pronounce target GH words accurately in context. And third, students will participate and produce sentences using target pronunciation. So, as I said at the beginning, our lesson today will focus on pronunciation, specifically on the pronunciation of the GH at the end of certain words, where it is pronounced as like an F. That's right. It is GH is sometimes pronounced like an F. Now, before we listen to the story, there are a couple. So before before we listen to the story and read the story, I would like us to. So before we hear, so before we listen and read the story, so before we read and listen to the story, I have a question for you guys. Can you name some words that end in GH? Have you read or heard or seen words ending in GH in English? And you remember any?
Although,
Although, yes, although is a very common one. Yes, yes, although is a very common one. That's right. Good. Any other words?
hi.
Hi. Yes, hi. Hi is also very common. Any other words ending in GH that you can remember?
Laugh.
Laugh. Very good. Good job. Yeah, that's actually one of the words that we are going to take a look at today, right? Because in this word, GH is pronounced like an F. So, very good, guys. Now, how do you pronounce this word and this word? Is the GH at the end the same? I think these two words were just mentioned by you guys as examples of words ending in GH. Do you notice a difference?
Yes, in high the GH doesn't sound.
That's right. Hi, the GH doesn't sound. It's muted. It's a silent. It's a silent GH. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so now Let's go ahead and listen to the story. This story contains several words ending in GH with different pronunciations. In some of them, the GH is silent. In others, GH is pronounced like an F. Okay, it sounds like an F.
A long day at the bakery. Carlos works at a small bakery. His job is tough, but he likes it. Some days the customers are rude, the kitchen is rough, and there's not enough bread. But Carlos still finds time to laugh with his coworkers. One morning, he started to cough while mixing the flour. "Are you okay?" asked Maria. "I think the flour is too high in the air," he said with a sigh. The boss walked through the kitchen. "We need more dough for the afternoon," she said. Carlos was tired. Although he was busy, he smiled. "No problem. I'll start another batch." The end of the day, Carlos sat outside. The sun was high and he felt happy. "Today was hard," he said, "though we got everything done. That's good enough for me."
Okay, guys, very good. I'm gonna play the audio one more time. Um, Pay close attention and try to identify the words where GH is pronounced like an F. Well, we already know that laugh is one of them, right? Try to identify the others.
A long day at the bakery. Carlos works at a small bakery. His job is tough, but he likes it. Some days the customers are rude, the kitchen is rough, and there's not enough bread.
All right, guys, good. So now I would like you to identify which of the words ending in GH in the story um, sound the GH sounds like an F. We can work in pairs. Let's create some breakout rooms. I'll give you 2 minutes to discuss with your classmate. See if you guys can identify the words where the GH sounds like an F. Okay, at this point they will work in breakout rooms, and I'll only give them 2 minutes because it's only 4 words, and basically they already identify laugh, so it's only 3 left. Okay, guys, very good. All right, yes, yes, that's correct. There was only 4 words. Uh-huh, good. All right, so let's take a look at them. So, pronouncing GH at the end of words. There's a missing S here. Sorry, guys, there was a typo here. So, in some words, um, as we mentioned previously, in some words in English, GH at the end is pronounced like an F, as in Frank. In other words, GH at the end is silent. Uh, but in these words where the GH is silent, usually the vowel is pronounced in a longer manner. It's a long vowel, usually. Now, you might be wondering, why is it that in some words the GH is pronounced like an F and in others is silent? Well, there are some historical and etymological reasons why this is the case. Because of the use of these words, because of the origin of these words, some words uh, ended up having a GH that sounded like an F, and in others it's silent. Well, the important thing is that we learned these words. There's only 4. There's actually a couple more, but those are rarely used. But the ones that are commonly used in everyday conversations or in everyday English are these 4. Okay, so we're gonna learn them, learn how to pronounce them, and then use them in context. Okay, so we have the first one, cough, cough. Cough is when you go like you're sick, you're like cough, right? That is cough, coughing. Second one is the word rough, rough. Also like an F at the end, rough means something that is hard. Depending on the context, it might mean hard or difficult. Or when you're talking about a texture, something that is the opposite of smooth, smooth, right? Rough. Tough is also it can mean hard, or it can also mean resilient or resistant. And the last one is enough. Enough. Enough is when you have plenty of something, when you have an adequate amount of something, right? So we have cuff, rough, tough, enough. Rough, cuff, sorry, cuff, rough, tough, enough. Okay? Cuff, rough, tough, enough. All right, very good. Anyone would like to give it a try and read these 4 words? Rough, rough, tough, enough. What happened here? Maria. Okay, great. Please go ahead.
Cough, rough, tough, enough.
Great. Good job. Good job. Very good. Okay, anyone else would like to give it a try? Carlos, please go ahead.
Cough, rough, tough, enough.
Okay, great job. Good job, guys. Good job. Okay, good. So, as it says here in this title, these other words, in these other words, the GH is silent. High, sigh, though, through, although, though. Okay. Very good. Very good. So now let's try to pronounce these. And that is the end of my mini lesson. Thank you for watching.